I saw a couple of stories that involve running backs on Pro Football Talk, and it has me remembering that the Texans running back situation and interior offensive line are the two biggest questions for their offense this year. Not many questions, right? You feel pretty good about it on paper. But I do think it is something to keep in the back of your mind. The Texans passed on Saquon Barkley. They didn't want to go to a certain amount of money with him. The Giants also passed on him. The story that we saw today, the Giants did not even give Saquon Barkley an offer to return. Eagles gave him a big deal. He's in Philadelphia instead of Houston because of that. The Texans traded for Joe Mixon, but I mean, they got Joe Mixon for a 7th-round pick this year. Just a 7th. The Bengals didn't want him. And we know the Bengals are cheap. He was not making a ton of money. The Bengals were going to cut him. I suppose they feel like their running back situation with Zach Moss and the other guy who they had last year is fine. But Joe Mixon to the Bengals was a cast-up. There's a chance he's not Joe Mixon anymore. A very good chance, I would say. I don't know how big it is. I'm not saying it's like 50+% or something like that, but there's certainly a possibility that trading for Joe Mixon and giving him a contract extension will be a mistake. And when you think about what they did in the draft, not drafting a running back until the 6th round, Jawhar Jordan out of Louisville, who was tough but small, and per a lot of draft reports, doesn't really do anything super special. You know, he's not super elusive. He's not super fast. He just has amazing vision. And maybe that's all the Texans are looking for in Bobby Slowick's offense. But this year they're going into it with Joe Mixon, Jawhar Jordan, the 6th-round pick, and Dameon Pierce, who they are saying is going to be a big part of what they're doing this year. And I want to believe that. I have not given up on Dameon Pierce yet, but the Texans gave up on Dameon Pierce last year. And is it going to change so much for Dameon Pierce in one offseason to the point where it's actually going to work for him? Or if Joe Mixon gets hurt, what do they do? Like, is this enough? This is one of those positions where you actually do want to have multiple guys who are good. And I know everyone's obsessed about the wide receivers, and you were thinking to yourself, well, what happens if Tank Dell gets hurt or shot again? Or if they're down Nico Collins and they only have one of these wide receivers, what are they going to do? They got to get Stephon Diggs. Well, they got Stephon Diggs. I don't think they necessarily needed to get that extra wide receiver, but you really are in a spot where if you get an injury to your running back, you could find yourself having the same kind of ineffective running game that you had last year. And I thought that hurt the Texans multiple times last season.
Yeah, it's definitely a position that you don't need to invest a lot in. Like, no one was asking them to draft a running back in the 2nd round. Actually, someone probably was, but no reasonable person was actually expecting them to draft a running back with one of their first 2 picks in the draft, or with any sort of heavy investment after the Joe Mixon deal.
Right.
It's just, yeah, it looks a little light right now, and it is a position that you can maybe just kind of skirt by, maybe add someone right before training camp, or someone a training camp cut from another team. But it is something that you're really going to need Joe Mixon to be the workhorse for this team. It looks like, at the very least, you can get an improved Dameon Pierce, but even an improved Dameon Pierce from last year isn't someone that you're super excited to be your feature back if anything happens to Mixon.
Yeah. And
the other guy's a 6th-round rookie who, 6th-round rookies, as far as running backs go, hey, they can be good. It's a little bit different than, a 6th-round quarterback that you're absolutely not expecting to play, barely expecting to be on the team. 6th-round running back's a little bit different, but that would still be asking a lot from Jordan.
I agree. And especially when I look at the scouting report, I'm not going to watch the film because the film can always be misleading. There's going to be highlights of these guys all online, these guys coming out of the draft, and you're going to think that they're all awesome. And it's awesome that they all got drafted. It's awesome that they're all getting an opportunity in the NFL. But until we actually see them out there, we truly do not know. And it does seem like from all scouts, if I'm going to trust these scouts, and I trust them with a grain of salt, especially these guys who are later round draft picks, it seems like the thing that he offers is vision. It's not size, it's not power, it's not speed. So we'll see how that works if he even gets any opportunities. I am excited for another opportunity for Dameon Pierce. I hope that it's not like Dameon Pierce getting 1 or 2 carries a game or no carries a game.
He was getting DMPs.
Pretty much at the end of the year. You're right. Welcome back to the Tucker Pawlson Show. We all thought that C.J. Stroud, Houston Texans quarterback, was a battle red-blooded American, a patriot for the Texans' way. Swarm! But it turns out he's openly selling secrets to the Chinese. He's spending time at youth football camps in China with Micah Parsons, conveniently ignoring China's actual concentration camps. America used to be the foremost power in the world. Now the only leg up on communist China that we have is American football. And CJ Stroud is willing to betray that. What is happening? What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. CJ Stroud is more of a traitor to the United States than President Joe Biden. Damn. I got to say, that is surprising that, on a serious note, CJ Stroud and Micah Parsons are in China, and I've been putting on youth clinics for American football in China. I didn't even know that they played it over there.
I imagine it's some sort of like global outreach thing, because that is what the NFL is trying to do now.
Can we stop?
No, they're trying to take over the world.
On a serious note, America first, CJ Stroud and Micah Parsons should not be allowed to set foot on communist soil. For all we know, they'll get kidnapped and we've seen CJ Stroud breaking down film, okay? On a serious note, do we want Chinese football players learning state secrets? I don't want China to be good at football. I don't want China to get football, ever. They're communists. The CCCP in China is like one of the most evil groups in the world. And we're just letting these guys go over there? Because as soon as they give a couple of these over, they're going to have like a group of football savvy, athletic-looking guys. They're going to, just like the Russians did, like just juice them full of steroids, and 20 to 30 years from now, when the Olympics actually feature football, China's going to kick our ass with their roided-up freaks.
I'm still waiting for them to catch up to basketball. They've had 20 years since Yao Ming. Well, they're worse off than when they started.
You know what? I don't want them to have any of this, Sean. None of it. None of it. I hate that we're exporting American football everywhere. It should stay in America.
I think it's more of a global domination thing that they're going for. They're trying to overtake soccer.
They can have soccer. They can have soccer. No one cares. But for here, I don't like this. I don't like that we're playing games in Brazil. I don't like that we're playing games in formerly Nazi Germany. I don't like it. I don't like that we're playing games in England. How many times have we had to pick up the tab for those bastards after getting independence from them? World War I, World War II. I mean, come on.
World War III.
Probably will.
Soon come.
Yeah. I mean, England's not stopping the Russians if that gets out of hand. Anyway,